Shame is such a crippling emotion. It makes us feel small, unworthy of a second chance. And it's easy to get wrapped up in those chains of failure and doom. But God, it's because of him that this doesn't have to be our story. And in today's episode, this is certainly the case. Today I'm talking with Misti Guerrero.
Hey, y'all.
And she's going to share how God broke the chains of fear and shame and how she once felt and now walks in the confidence of God's amazing grace. And Misti, just thank you for coming out this morning. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So are you excited about anything going on this weekend? Like, how's this weekend looking for you?
It's looking pretty good. A little peaceful, a little rest. We do have one little kid birthday party this evening.
Oh, I got one this afternoon as well.
Fun.
Late time. I know. Woo. But are you more excited about sharing your story today?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Was that a little bit of sarcasm there, Misti?
No, it is the truth. Seriously, this is like adult time.
Oh, yes.
Children in a pool make me nervous.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Misti, well, we're going to start with your story. So where does your story start?
So it really kind of starts when I was about 22.
Yeah, like college age time, right?
Yes, definitely.
Where did you go to college at?
So I actually went to ULM.
Oh, yeah, our local college here. Yeah. So what was going on when you were 22?
Well, when I was 22, of course, like I said, I was in school. I was over here. I didn't really know anybody. I joined a sorority. I was just kind of living life, trying to get a degree.
Yeah. What were you studying?
I was studying social work.
Yeah.
I started off in nursing, but quickly
nursing is, it's not fun. Yeah.
So yeah, but that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Just kind of like living the college life, you could say.
Yeah. Were you a Christian then? Were you a Christian at 22 and in college?
Okay, so yeah, I was a Christian. I actually came to the Lord when I was about 12. I went to the summer camp and
camp.
Yes, camp. Anyway, so I was led to the Lord at that point. Kind of like a relationship off and on with the Lord from middle school through college. Moving to college, I didn't get connected. So didn't have a church home. Didn't really get plugged in. Didn't have a community of other believers. So
yeah,
again, it kind of wasn't. It was kind of like in my distance.
Yeah, just on the shelf over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just over there, So what did college life look like for you with God not being your focus?
I mean, it really was about me. So, I can remember just doing whatever I felt like I wanted to do. Or, it was all about me. I made lots of choices about me, including, falling for a guy really hard, not the great guy, for all the wrong reasons. But again, it was about me and what I wanted.
Yeah. So that guy was not a man of God.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. But I thought I could change him. Like, that was my mentality. Like, I'm the good girl. He's not a good guy. I can change him to make him a good guy.
I mean, he likes me, right? Like, of course. I'm the one that's going to change his world, rocket.
Yes,
yeah. I think in Christian culture, we sometimes call that missionary dating. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to bring you over to the good side.
Yes. Trying to save the person you're with.
Yeah. But we all think that I know so many women, girls, and I was one of those at different times too, like where I'm like, I'm going to be the one. We just think that way. I don't know why we think that way, but we do. And it's never true or very seldom true. Like, or if you're in that, it's like if it does happen for you, you weren't thinking that, like you didn't have that mentality if it did happen for you. Yeah, so crazy. So how did that relationship go? Like what came out of that relationship?
Oh, goodness, Brandy, it was so toxic. And at the time, I didn't really see it as toxic. It just became this relationship that the more he pulled away, or the more, I guess, he went a different direction from where I felt like he needed to be, the harder and closer I tried to pull it. So it was like this vicious cycle.
Yeah. How long were y'all together, or a thing?
So we were probably a thing for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even live local. So he lived back where I was from in Shreveport. So it was so toxic in the fact that, like, I would just, like, leave Monroe, leave school, go, to Shreveport.
Drive the hour and a half, 2 hours there. Oh, my goodness.
Frequently, daily, weekly.
Did you miss class and stuff?
I wasn't that
bad.
No. I kept that
just on the weekends. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Are you nerdy like me, Missy?
Jobs in Shreveport.
Oh my gosh, Misty.
Yeah, it was so. And again, like, you could not have told me it was toxic at the moment.
How did you handle a job in Shreveport? Was it like a weekend job or something, or evening job?
Weekend, nighttime. I mean,
that just blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it was just that I could be closer to that relationship.
Wow. Did he do anything like that? No.
He did not put forth any effort. It was just not. But it's like just that desire again I'm going to make him change his mind.
Yeah. And we think that, I don't know, we just make excuses for people. We're like, oh, well, he couldn't do blank, right. He didn't have that opportunity. I know if he really could, he would. I know he loved, like,
deep down,
we think that. Yeah, we think that. And it's like,
And he was very honest. He was like, it's not what you think. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Seriously. Like, I was connected with his family. We did everything with his family. Me and his sisters were best friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, for me, it was...
I'm all in. Yeah.
But.
Yeah. And it's tough when you're close with the family, too, because then it's not just about that one person. It's like the family as well. It's the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, like, what happened to you guys?
So eventually I did end up getting pregnant. I was 22. I ended up getting pregnant from that relationship.
Yeah. Like, what was your initial reaction to that?
At first, I really just didn't know what to do. Like, I was scared. He was not supportive at all. He rejected every part of me keeping the baby, going forward with pregnancy. So he didn't really have an interest in being a part of our lives. I was scared to tell my family. I was scared of people who knew me.
Yeah.
I think deep down, like, that's not the person that people thought I was.
Yeah.
Outside, people saw something different. So I was really just scared. I was scared of the rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how did you handle that?
So his rejection, and plus, unfortunately, when people find out things in a certain way, their initial reaction is very strong.
Yeah.
So
it's more shock. It's like shock and then the other, and it just,
I remember telling my dad, and his reaction was so strong. It hurt so bad.
Yeah.
I expected it, but I was still just like,
wow.
Brought so much shame in like 2 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
And so, it really just affected my doubt and my self-worth.
Yeah.
So it was just a big internal fight for me.
Yeah. So did you decide to have the baby? I mean, you had, like, I know, the guy you're with didn't want I guess, was he ever pushing for an abortion, or was she like, I'm just not a part of this? Like, I just don't want nothing to do with that. I
mean, at first, like, those words were probably not exactly used, but I think it was insinuated. So it was kind of like, okay, well, I don't want anything.
Like, if you're not going to do that, then I'm definitely not going to be a part of this going forward.
I mean, which is so weird, because then, like, at the end of the pregnancy, all of a sudden it was like, oh, like, let's try to work this out. But yeah, that was not a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did have the baby.
You did? Well, great.
His name is Gavin.
Awesome.
Not a baby anymore, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I know your dad wasn't supportive at first, but was anybody else supportive during that time?
Yes. So probably reluctantly, I'm sure they had their own private thoughts, but my mom and my sister were just like, we're here for you. We love you. We love the baby.
Yeah.
And so, I had them by my side.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had them. I'm glad they were able to put their private opinions on a shelf and were able to express that to you. And I'm so glad you made that choice. I think life is great. That's always a great choice, even though, and I don't want to take away or minimize all the difficulty of that choice. I think you're also incredibly brave because if you don't mind for a minute, can we just talk about that? I just don't think a lot of people think about or weigh the weight of that decision.
I think, honestly, Brittany, in our Christian culture, it is so abortion's wrong.
Yeah.
That there comes a lot of immediate judgment with that. So you hear abortion and you're just that's wrong. God says it's wrong. Well, so is gossip. And so it's lying. They're all equally wrong.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to lie and say that never crossed my mind. I cannot ever lie and say that thought when that idea came, oh gosh, could that? And then, of course, quickly the Lord's this is not what you believe. This is not who you are.
Yeah.
But I definitely could put myself in someone else's place. Certain pieces were all when you feel like there's no hope and there's no way around it.
Yeah.
But anything good could come from that. I definitely see how that choice could be easier or seem easier. Not easier, but it just seems, because that's what the enemy wants us to think.
Yeah. And just knowing the difficulty of, okay, you choose life. That's still, they're just, to me, equally hard choices.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad you had the support of your mom and your sister. But not everyone has that.
No, and if I didn't, who's to say I wouldn't have made a different choice?
Yeah.
If I didn't have any support. Because I think your support is what gives you that hope. Helps you see that, there is hope.
For yourself and for the child. Yeah. Because I think moms think about that too. It's not just about themselves in that moment, but also for the child. There's no one there to help this child. What's the point?
Yeah,
or
I can't raise this child. I can't do this.
I can't provide for them, and it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into that decision. So again, I just want to acknowledge your bravery and acknowledge just wow. And I'm thankful that you made that choice. And I know the rest of your family is too. So just thank you for that. But beyond that, I also just want to ask, what were you feeling? You've made that choice, you've had your baby, but what else were you feeling during that time?
Honestly, I was struggling still with just that rejection, insecurity, fear, shame, guilt. Just all the things the enemy uses to bring us to the bottom and get our mind on a different place. I just felt trapped. I felt hopeless. It was just you walk around campus and you're the pregnant girl. Or, your sorority sisters aren't excited for you because that's embarrassing. Or, you just have this, you just feel different.
Yeah, stamped on your forehead. But it's actually not on your forehead. It's stamped on your belly for a while. It's not something you can hide.
Yep.
Yeah. And were you able to finish school?
I was able to finish school.
Well, yay. Yeah. It's awesome.
Bachelor's degree.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, but which of that, you just mentioned a lot of emotions there, rejection and just the insecurity and fear and shame and guilt. Out of all of those, which one kind of weighed on you the most during this season of your life?
I would say shame was probably the biggest, because I think sometimes when you know the right thing to do, or you know better,
yeah,
and you choose a different choice, or you make a different choice, then you feel shame, and you feel like when other people have expectations for you that you didn't live up to.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think with my relationship with God, like I feel like I didn't live up to his standards. So the shame of my choice, my decision, I mean, I saw it from a human perspective as well as just thinking about like how shameful that I would do all this, and God's done so much, you know, down for my sins. And,
Like, how did I do this? Like, you know, I know other people might do that kind of stuff, but not me. Like, how did I find myself in this situation? For sure. Exactly. Like, and I think a lot of people can relate to that for sure. Like that. Yeah. If they're saying they don't, they're lying. Because I think we've all done something in our lives. We're like, how did I do that? I know there's a few things in my life where I'm like, man, how did I get into that?
People, but really, like, how did I get into
Yeah.
Put myself in this situation.
So how long was this a battle for you? This battle of like dealing with this shame and these thoughts, these negative thoughts in your mind how long did it happen for you?
I mean, I think I was 22, so probably the next, 8 to 10 years, it was a internal battle for me. So yeah, it seemed like forever, but yeah.
Yeah. How did that because now that you're on a different side, of the coin here. So when you look back at yourself, like how can you see like how that was crippling you and like in just life?
Well, honestly, I mean, just that internal battle, I think it affected so many decisions that I had. Like, I mean, even right after I had him, like, I kind of settled for another relationship. Probably wasn't. Definitely was not the best. But I felt like, okay, well, I'm not getting better. Like, here I am, 23, I have a baby, newborn. This guy is accepting me. But, I just didn't have, I guess, higher standards. I didn't think I deserved better or I would get better.
You're like, oh, I'm lucky to have this person.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so
instead of,
like, settling, like, this is what I deserve. This is what I get. So I think it just affected, like, I felt like I didn't deserve better or best in anything, whether it's work or whether it's just like that was my mentality. Like, I'll just take whatever.
I'm sidelined now from anything better. Exactly. Yeah. Gotcha. Man. So where were you with God at this point? And I know he's been part of your life for a long time. Like, did you like start seeking him out during that time, or was he still kind of on the shelf for you?
So after probably a couple months into my pregnancy, I really kind of started internalizing okay, what am I going to do? It like starts making you think about, okay, like what does your future look like? What is happening? What's going to happen? And so I think at that point is when I started really not going out to seek God, but just internally seeking him. Like, God, like, you've given me this opportunity or this baby. What do you want? What do you want? Because I've done it my way. And it's not playing out. So what do you want from my life? Yeah.
Started asking those questions. Questions. Man. What were people talking to you about God in that time, or like?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, my mom and my sister were just my biggest, not only prayer warriors, but just encouragers, helping me see God in the situation. So referencing back scriptures, helping me understand that this baby is a gift from God. Like, it's not a punishment for you. It's a gift, because that's what I started thinking. Like, this is just my consequence. Like, this is what you get when you have sex before marriage and you get pregnant, and this is your fault. And so they really kind of just started pouring in, like, no, like, this is a gift from him. So opening my eyes to really see it as, okay, what do I want to do with this gift that God has given me? Yeah. That's awesome.
Did you ever hear from from Gavin's biological father at all? Like during their pregnancy, after he was born, when he was little?
Yeah, so like I said, the last couple of months of my pregnancy, I did hear from him. He told me all the things I wanted to hear. Let's try to make it work. I also found out during the time that he had gotten another girl pregnant. And so that was kind of okay, these are just words.
Yeah.
They're not anything. And the Lord just really was like, Misty, I need you to put your child in you first. Like, I need you to seek me. I need you to trust me. And I need you to pull away from this. Like, it's going to continue hurting you if you keep going back to the lies and the pain. And so he, that was about it. I mean, we saw him. He did come to the hospital to see him when he was born.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, there was a lot of just kind of like demands.
Yeah.
I want to see him. I want to do this. I want to do that. But he never made efforts. It was just, like I said, words.
Yeah.
And so finally I was just like, when you show me that you are ready to step up and you really want to be actively, like, daily
a part of life,
then you need to keep a distance. And he did. He never he let it go.
It's definitely his loss.
Yep.
Definitely.
And I know it's hard too, but
it is. Really. Yeah. In some ways it's almost a blessing because it stopped you and Gavin from having to experience hurt over and over and over again.
Right.
So in a lot of ways it was a good thing for you guys, but just knowing for Gavin, like this is his loss for not getting to see his child grow and see who he is today. Yeah. Not saying he couldn't steal, maybe, but yeah. Man. So what did keep you going? Like, I know you had your prayer warriors. I know that was huge, having that support of your mom and your sisters. But what else kept you going during this time? What gave you some hope?
So I can remember on Valentine's Day, like, I found out I was pregnant like in December. And then on Valentine's Day the next year, I was like 3 months pregnant. I went to Target and found this beautiful red leather journal. And at that time I had never really journaled, but I got this and I was like, I just want to journal this experience for my child. Like, I just want him I want him to know how I feel about him. Yeah. And so I did. So it became just like a dear God, because it was like I would start and it was like, Lord, please help me, da da da. But then it would just end up telling stories and prayers, and it just was a variety of things, praises, prayers. Yeah. But I just journaled. I journaled. I read books. God put different authors in my path. I don't remember honestly how they got in my path, but Sheila Walsh was like one of the biggest authors, and several of her books, like one is Life is Tough, but God is Faithful. And then How to See God's Love in Difficult Times. That probably was my biggest, How to See God's Love in Difficult Times. Yeah. Because I just didn't feel like I was worthy of love. I disappointed, and I think it goes back to that shame. Like, I didn't deserve God's love. Of course, now I still know that I don't deserve his love, but that's what's so great about God's love. But you accept it, like, that he does. Yeah. It's not due to shame anymore. Right. It's like then it was due to just the shame of, I screwed up, I messed up, like, how do I accept, or how do I even see that he actually still loves me, though I rejected him and I turned away from him. Because I think at that point, it also just sounds like words when you hear someone say, oh, God loves you. You're like, but does he really? I don't think he loves me as much as he used to, because I'm on the sidelines now. Right. So, like, I definitely know how you can feel like that for sure. And sometimes, like, I feel like it's hard, for Christians to, in a way, because, the truth is God does love us, but we say it so much that you really for someone that's struggling with that, or just, is in a season where they only really feel shame, that's hard to penetrate, even with the truth. Sometimes it's like you have to be shown it or said in a different way 100 million times before it really sinks in or cuts through that blanket of shame. I don't know. But I think that's something that honestly, Brittany, only God can do.
Yeah.
I think that's where he meets us where we are.
I do.
Knows. I mean, I look at stories in the Bible where it's just like he knows what words, action has to be taken for us to get it.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I call it, his pursuance of us. And I know for myself, like, and I said this before and I'll say it again, like, it's how he pursues me that gets me sometimes. Like, you still pursued me. And that, yeah. So,
Brandy, that's what, and I had to go back to all that, but I think even with choosing those guys, like, that was the desire. I wanted to be pursued. I craved it. And so it's kind of like, whether it's from God or whether it's from somebody else, obviously at that point, I wasn't even looking for God. I wasn't in the places. But to go back and see, again, where here I am pregnant and God's still pursuing me.
Yeah. Like,
he's still saying, speaking, like, come back to me. Like, I'm here for you. I'm waiting. I love this baby. It's your gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Well, I'm glad you were journaling. I'm glad you're doing, like, reading those books. What was the thing you got out of those books the most? Like, what was helpful for them for, like, reading those?
I think, again, the how to see God's love in difficult times. That though you may be experiencing a time in your life where you don't feel God's presence, you don't feel Him in a way that you think you should, our expectations. I think we have expectations of how we are going to feel God or see God. Yeah. Know He's there. But still how He is there and what He's done for us. Yeah. And then I think, again, part of that book too, it's just acknowledging and showing us we all have difficult times. Oh, yes. And I think sometimes that shame puts us in a place where we think we're the only ones. Like, I'm the only one in a certain situation. Like, did I know that there are other girls who get pregnant outside of wedlock? Yes, of course. But I think, again, He isolates us. I was isolated. I didn't have, like, a group of just, like, community. Yeah. He kind of pulled some of those people that I trusted and I had in my spot away. So, just knowing that He is there. Yeah. And there are other people that are experiencing things. Yeah. And so just seeing what He's done in other people's lives to recognize, okay, like, God does love me. Like, He's done that for me. So I think also just, again, seeing it from other people's perspective. Yeah. He uses that as well. Good. Good. But what were some of the discouraging things? Were some things that were kind of holding you back or just the weight on you? Again, I think not having a father for Gavin was big for me. My dad had always been around. Yeah. My parents were separated. They weren't together, divorced, but my dad was always there. I still don't remember any time that he wasn't. So knowing that he wasn't going to have that, I knew in my heart and soul, like, it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. In that aspect. And so, or the way I had expected and hoped. Yeah. And just feeling like a failure because I felt like I was responsible for that. Like, it's my job to, choose somebody who is going to love my son and myself. Yeah. I didn't. And so I felt like I failed my son before he was even born. And so that was probably the hardest things. It's just that discouragement because I know how valuable it is to have a man in your life, a father figure in your life. Yeah. But see, I wouldn't say that was, I understand how you felt that way. I do. But, that choice is a two-person choice. It really is. I see that now. I know you see it now. But like, back then I just felt like, again, like I should have chose better. I think again, that shame, that guilt, how you felt. Yeah. Like, when you're in that mentality of shame, you don't have the perspective, a clear perspective. Yeah. Very cloudy perspective. You have a very destructive perspective. I feel like when you live in shame, it's very destructive in your thoughts. And so I feel like that was just part of that destructive thoughts that the enemy wanted to just keep. And wanted to stay in that. Yeah. Yeah. Man, so what happened next though? Like, how did you grow in your faith? Because we know you didn't stay in that. We know at some point, the chains were broken. Yeah. God just met me where I was. He put people in my life. He started, or at least he helped open my eyes to see the people that he put in my life. That has shown me, God's goodness and faithfulness in those hard times. My mom, my sister, I can't say enough about how valuable their support was during pregnancy and even after. God just provided, and I think he met me where I was and provided those basic things.
Yeah.
I was so like, how am I going to do that? I was in college. I didn't have a job full time. So how am I going to provide food, a house? Like, what was I going to do?
Yeah. And at that point in my life, she was like, okay, I can't just work at the mall anymore. Like, a small, like retail job, or like, working at a restaurant waitressing. That's not going to cut it at that point, because you do have this child. And like, you have to have those other things. Yeah. And it's just hard to have that at that time of your life too.
It was. And I think, again, this is where I saw God put those things in my path. So like my last semester of school, my cousin offered to watch him the couple of days that I had left. And my internship, I actually volunteered to America was one of the things on the list.
Oh, cool.
They had an early Head Start program.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Been around a while. So,
well, before we keep going there, can we just like camp out on what early? I mean, I know what early Head Start is, but I'm not sure all my listeners do. So, like, can you camp out and explain why that's a big deal?
Okay, so early Head Start started locally in 2004, which that's when Gavin was born in 2004.
Wow,
so crazy. So the spring semester of 2023 is when I interned. Now, I didn't know anything about the program myself. It was just on the list of choices I could
Okay, I'm just gonna make your own choice, air quotes.
Yes.
But definitely God was directing your path to that.
Definitely directed my path. And so I showed up and learned about it. So what it is, it was actually designated for children 0 to 3. They had a home-based program and they had a center-based program, like a child care center. And they worked with children, again, 0 to 3, which my child fell right in the middle of. But it was more of a holistic approach. So they helped families set goals. They helped make sure their children had gone to the doctor, had gone to the dentist. Like they were healthy, not only physically, but emotionally. They did, screenings and assessments on children. They worked with them on their, different goals in the classroom, as well as teaching parents what they can do at home. So it was a phenomenal program that I was interned with. I can remember even crying, like, first day I had to put, like, Gavin in childcare down the road. And the director of the program at the time was just like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get this, how I'm going to do this. And she was like, we're going to do it together. Like,
wow.
That's what we're going to do.
It's huge.
And I knew at that moment, like, this was God driven. Like, and soon she was like, you need to apply, for the home-based program. And so we actually, got in the home-based program. I had a home visitor who used to be Julie Reddick. Now she's Julie Emery. Thanks, Julie. Give her a shout out to her.
Yeah, I'm going to tag her later.
Without her, I for real, like, we would not have survived. Like, she would come to my house and she talked to me so much she taught me how to interact with Gavin, but then also myself. Like, I was graduating from social work. What are you going to do next? She helped me apply to get my master's. Like, and that's what that's awesome for, to move, working, and people who are families who are working in a school, it's no cost. But it comes with a cost, but it helps us keep going, because how are you going to pay for childcare and you're in college? You can't work because you're in college and you got this baby.
It's free. It's a free program, but free if you are eligible for it.
You have to be eligible. Because I was in school, I was eligible. I didn't have high income, and so I mean, at that moment, it helped me to get things going so that I can get my feet on the ground. Yeah,
for yourself and then ultimately for Gavin too.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's what I love about the program as well. I've told some people recently, it's not a daycare. Right. Like, get that out of your brain. It's more like a school, but it's even more than that. It's as much as a program for the children as it is for the parents. And it's the advocacy piece of it. Like you were saying earlier, the holistic thing, like it's, the parents are given an advocate that advocates for them.
Yep.
as much as for the child too.
Exactly.
And that's something you're never going to get from a daycare.
Yeah.
And what I also think is great is the community piece to it as well. Like having those, isn't it monthly that they're like have those?
We have monthly group socializations. So like that's just kind of where, because remember I didn't have community.
Yeah.
So I had this little baby and other parents would come with their babies and their little ones, and it gave us a time to, talk about, okay, how this is going.
Yeah.
Like how's this going for you? Like, this is a really struggle. You got to talk about your struggles. There was a lot. Most of them were single moms. So it was kind of like you understood each other.
Yeah.
The struggles of what was happening, as well as talking and getting help as far as with your baby. Like, what are some ways and things that y'all are, doing this or doing this? So it just gave you a sense of community, which is so important.
So important.
Into your situation.
And that's the other piece I feel like is super strong for this program or for early Head Start is because you're not going to get that at a daycare.
No.
They're not going to provide an opportunity for that to happen.
And that's just not to participate or not. I could have easily been like,
I'm going to do that.
Doing that. But I knew the value of community, and I knew that I needed it.
Yeah.
Me and Gavin to stay hopeful.
Yeah.
To stay hopeful.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Well, I'm glad that opportunity came your way. I mean, I love that program, and I'm glad you were definitely a part of it. So I think you talked a little bit about how it affected your life, but how did that propel you forward? Like, was it something that did help you go get your master's? And like, how did that really affect you and Gavin?
Yeah. So my home visitor, thanks Sheila again. I'll forever give her shout out. Every time I see her, I'm like, this used to be our home visitor. Like, she just laughed at me. I'm like, I can't live without her. She encouraged me to become a teacher. So
oh man.
She encouraged me to go back and get my master's. So I went to master's. I was going to do social work, but it was not an opportune situation. So as far as just working and going to school at the same time. So she actually went through the program at Tech, which was like family and child development. Studies. So I went that route. So they had a lot of night classes. Online classes is when that started back in 2005. So it was oddly perfect for us.
Yeah.
And then she, she was like, hey, why don't you apply to be a teacher at Early Head Start? And I was like, okay. I mean, I interned there. I can teach there. And so I did. And so I started teaching there. He actually got in the center-based program around the same time.
Oh, wow.
So I was teaching. He was in the center. I was able to go to night classes. I ended up getting my master's in 2006.
That's awesome.
Yeah, again. And then, like I said, I moved positions and got into a different position there at Early Start as well, but just kind of kept moving us forward. So now I got this master's degree. I've got a more higher paying job, so I'm able to pay now for childcare because he's turning 3. So
because they age out at 3.
Age out at 3. And so his teacher helped me. She went with us on the first day of his other place and helped us to adjust to the new place. And got us settled. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Wow. So at this point, were you in Jesus and, and God, were y'all like best friends? Are y'all still working on that? Or like, is he still on the shelf still? Or you're like, man, God is too good?
So this is kind of where I had a crossroad experience. I thought the crossroad experiences when I was pregnant with Gavin. That's when God kind of pulled me back in.
You're right.
To him, kind of to see, like, I'm giving you a gift. Like, this is from me. This is punishment. I love you. Kind of let me feel that again. Again, my shame was still leading me to poor choices. So I was in another unhealthy relationship. The first couple of years of Gavin's life. Not as toxic as the first one, but equally not towards God. Wasn't a focus. So I can distinctly remember it was right after his 3rd birthday, and God was like, I need you to go, and this is not audibly, obviously, but just a sense in my presence. Like I was up one Sunday and was like, the sense I felt like I needed to go to this church, this large church across the river, because I was in Monroe. And of course, First West is that.
First West.
Yeah, First West. And so I went. So this was the crossroad where I had to put my words and my actions together. So I think the first part was just my words, God, I hear you, I'm with you. And I believed in my heart that I wasn't making actions towards that with my faith to action. And so
you were taking baby steps, so now you're about to take a leap.
Yes, a leap. I was like, literally having this, like, God, I don't know anybody at this big church across the river. And he was just like, you need to go. And we're talking like, not go next week, like, get up and go right now. Yeah. And so I just got up, got Gavin and I ready. Again, it was, 3, never been to church. So we're going to church.
And the biggest one in town.
The biggest one across the town.
Yeah.
But that's how God was. And really I had, again, like one of those experiences there. Like I got there and I started visiting churches, but again, like I didn't feel welcome and nothing that they did. Like that's the thing. Yeah. It was nothing like they were rude. I just, like nobody kind of like came to me. Nobody introduced themselves. In my head, that was God's way of, this isn't where I need you to be. Like anything, it was just being still. But that day was so different. There was a girl in front of me who was pregnant and I just remember, like, her hands were in the air, her eyes were closed, and she was just worshiping the Lord. Yeah. It was just her. So in my head, when you see people, you, like, put a story to them. So she's a single mom, she's pregnant, she's worshiping the Lord. Yeah. This is what, and I just remember, like, crying, saying, God, I want to be that. I want to worship you like that, and just, like, not even know that anything else exists. But like I said, it was just so beautiful. And her name is Esther, so shout out to Esther. And what's so cool about God is, like, right after the service, she came up to me. That same girl that I was admiring and was like, I want to worship like that, was just like, came up to me and she literally was like, this is your first time here, isn't it? And I just remember thinking, how did you know that? How did this girl know that? But obviously she was led too. And she just listened and obeyed. We had conversations. She knew about where I worked. I told her about my, not my whole situation, but I had a 3-year-old. I got married and she just like kept talking. Like it wasn't even something. And that's when I was like, wow, like, I feel so accepted by this moment. By this woman. And of course, like we just started coming after that. Yeah. And so after that, like God really, I wanted everything I could about it. So I went to Bible studies. I joined the life group. Like, I took leaps of faith in every single moment because I was like, okay, God, you are seeking me and I've got to seek you. Like I have to put my faith in action right now.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. Did your dad ever come to terms with like you having Gavin and all that? Did he ever? Because I know at first you had like a strong reaction. Did he ever come around to that?
Yeah, God used, I think, my pregnancy. I think when he saw that I was still going to graduate from college, I think that was his biggest fear. That I was going to just like have a baby and quit, like
everything,
just be done. Yeah. It just completely destroy my future. But I think when he saw like she can still graduate, I was getting my master's.
Yeah. My girl's strong.
Like, I'm not gonna like, and then when he saw, of course, Gavin, he was there when Gavin was born. I think it just changed him. Yeah. And I think again, God used him to be the father figure that Gavin didn't have. Yeah. As a grandfather. Yeah. So they had a really special relationship. Yeah. He came around and like I said, they just had a special relationship. I can't explain it other than it was just the grace of God for my baby. Yeah.
Man, that's really great together. Like, how that kind of coupled together and, you were just talking about this crossroads where like you're putting your faith in action and really starting to grow in God. I feel like all that kind of had a hand together. But didn't your dad get sick at some point?
He did. So there came a time when it was like the fall of 2009. My dad just started feeling bad. Like We didn't know why. Kept on the doctor. Nobody knew why until January of 2010. We went to the hospital, ran some tests, and found out that he had stomach cancer.
Wow.
And he was given 3 months to live.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's tough.
Yeah. It was really tough. Like, it's one of those moments. Gavin he would have been 5, 6, almost 6. It was kind of like this was my test of my faith again.
Yeah.
Except for this was kind of like, I just didn't know what to do with it at first because I was like, you gave this man to my son.
Yeah.
He was grace. Like my son needed him.
Yeah.
I mean, I needed him, obviously, but
yeah.
I mean, I thought just more about Gavin than I did anything else. They were best buds.
Yeah.
And so I remember seeking God. I remember praying desperately for healing. Like, I knew God could save him. I knew God could heal him. I knew, like, I was determined. Like, I knew. But, April 2nd of 2010, almost exactly 3 months.
Wow.
Like, it was his time. And he went to be with the Lord. And that's how, that's how God saved him. That's how God, I guess, chose to rescue my dad from his pain and sickness and
heal him that way.
Yeah. Was his healing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really tough. I think so how old are you when that happened?
So 2010, I was 29.
That's so young.
Yeah. Thought I would have him forever, but 29 years was good. Like I said, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just a new point in my faith walk.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think this time it was a little different because for the last 3 or 4 years, like I was pouring so much into my walk with God and Bible studies and learning about his character that this hit different.
Yeah. It's almost you're prepared for it in a way.
Yes.
Like you could handle this level of just grief and...
Like it got to the point, I think, near the end of my dad's walk that I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
But there was this piece of, Missy, this is just part of my plan.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
And so it's like I was able to because I had so much of like pouring into God. God poured into me those years that it allowed me to trust him a little more than previous years.
Yeah.
If that would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Man. So I know that you were also somehow started and got into ministry somehow. Like, was this before, after, during? Like, how did that happen? And I think it was also in a different country. I think I heard you tell me like you went somewhere like out of the country and like started this ministry and stuff. Like, how did that come about? Like,
So,
what's that piece?
All right. So, during that time when I was pouring in and going to life group, this life group was actually all older women. They were all single older women who had like grown up kids. And I was like the baby that had this little 3-year-old.
Yeah.
But one of the ladies in my life group, Miss Evelyn, she had decided she was going on a mission trip to Honduras, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Okay." This was like the fall of 2022, so this was before my dad got sick.
Okay,
so I agreed to that, and I said, "Okay." So I started secretly raising funds. I didn't tell my family at this time.
Why didn't you tell them?
I think they would think I was crazy.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't go out of the country. You have a baby at home. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Baby, but
you don't want to be discouraged from pursuing
so I
that.
was like, I'm going to just keep, it's like I kind of trusted and kind of didn't. I was still at that point like, what? Mm. And then we got the news about my dad. And so then I was like, oh, I'm not going. Like, I'm not going. Like, there's no way this is going to work out. And then one day I was at home and I was in that mood. I just got back from Shreveport, my dad was, and we got home and I got to my door and there was a package and it said, to Misty, from Misty. Now, normally when things like that happen, which I've never had that happen ever, like I didn't send myself a package, so I'm real confused. So I was like, do I even open this? Like, this is so freaky. Like, I don't know that you open a package from yourself that you didn't send.
I'm about to be a victim here. Like, what's happening? Yeah.
And I opened it up, and it was the full version of Rosetta Stone Spanish.
Oh.
And I was still to myself thinking,
well, okay.
What in the world? But that was like, at the same time, I was like, okay, this is God. Like, this is my confirmation. Like, this is my plan. You go. You're still going. And so just things like that. The money came in literally when I was like raising money to go on the trip. Like within like a week and a half, it was paid for.
Wow.
Like, and so it was kind of like I knew this trip was important.
Yeah.
This little short-term 1-week mission trip with Miss Evelyn. We were going.
Yeah.
I didn't realize my dad was going to pass away in April. My trip was scheduled in June. And so there was still a lot of just internal struggle. I was so sad. I was bleeding. I was in pain. And I have nothing to give another person. Like zero. But God. But God. I decided to go that trip, and it changed our life forever. Just that 1 week.
Was Gavin with you, or did he stay back in the States?
No, Gavin was not with me. It was just me. Gavin stayed back in the States.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted kind of my first time out of the country.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, so maybe I didn't feel called to bring Gavin. And so it was just me and Miss Evelyn and our little team.
What'd y'all do there?
So we actually went into the mountains with XMA.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah, so
they kind of do like more remote
stuff.
And
so Mr. Randy White was our team leader, and he led us to this little village in Pane. It was really VBS, things like that.
Yeah.
That was where it kind of all started. On our way up there. I can remember talking to Miss Evelyn because my passion has been Spanish for years and years, since middle school. And I just remember saying, I want to live here. Like, though there was nothing beautiful about it other than the mountains, it was poverty, lots of poverty.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, I want to live here. She's like, well, why don't you move? And she's like, maybe God's calling me here. And I was like, to do what? I don't grow things.
Yeah.
These people grow corn and beans, and they grow pineapples and bananas. I don't know how to grow anything.
Yeah.
Or they make beautiful, beautiful, things with their hands. And I said, I don't make things. I know about children. I said, I've been working with Early Head Start for years now. At that point, I was actually working for the Children's Coalition.
What?
Doing Alice Pals. So.
Oh, okay.
But still with children. My passion was little babies. 0 to 4 was my heart.
Yeah.
Like, what could I do here? I said, I can have a child care center.
Yeah.
That's about all I could do. It's not bad. But still, like, in a foreign country, let me open up a child care center. I don't
what's the red tape with that? Like, I don't know. Where do you start? Yeah.
We get to this village, and like within 30 minutes of a conversation with my girl, Jennifer, she was talking about what, God has put on their heart to do in that village. They've been there a couple of years. And she was like, God's laid it on her heart to have like an after school program and a childcare center. And I was like, a what? And
like, did she like hear me?
Yeah. Like, was she in the car? I looked at Miss Evelyn And she looked at me and we both were like, did she just use the word childcare? Because I'm pretty sure that's what she used like 2 hours ago down the mountain.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just looked at her. She's like, what? And I was like, you wouldn't believe it if I told you.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I knew.
Yeah.
Like, we were moving.
Yeah.
Like, we were moving.
What did your mom say? I mean, were they like, are you sure you heard from God?
I mean, I probably didn't use the term. I knew in my heart I was moving.
Yeah.
I probably did not share that instantly. Like, that wasn't, I didn't come home and be like, oh, guess what? We're moving to Honduras.
Yeah.
You know, it was more, I think, again, I don't think God expects you or tells you or wants you to share everything with everybody when he gives you something.
That is a lot of wisdom there. I think more people should say that again.
I just don't think, sometimes you get a vision from God or you get like a word from the Lord of like your future, but that doesn't mean you need to share it at that moment.
Yeah.
At that time.
Agreed.
The whole story in the Bible
with Joseph. Like, maybe you should have kept that to yourself.
You have to share your dreams with everybody.
Because sometimes it's just for you.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to share.
And we certainly don't talk about that a lot, but yeah, that's, a lot of wisdom.
Kind of waited. Like, I mean, me and Jennifer talked about it.
Yeah.
We made plans, but I just kind of held it and waited. And Gavin and I took another trip. We took a trip together in December of that same year.
Wow.
For another week because I wanted Gavin to experience it.
So was this in 2010, the same year that your dad?
2010.
Yeah, the year that your dad passed.
Yes,
yeah.
It was.
Wow, that's a lot of life change.
Yeah.
It's huge.
A lot.
And you mentioned Jennifer. Was she a person from Honduras?
So Jennifer, funny story, she is actually, she's lived there. She moved there when she was 18.
Wow.
She got married there. Me and her are about the same age, a couple years younger. She's actually from Rayville,
Louisiana.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Which is not that far from here.
No,
yeah, that's crazy.
So we met there, but she's from Rayville, and I was like, oh,
that's so weird.
Monroe. That's so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we met there and been best friends ever since.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. Wow. I mean, just recapping for a minute here, like just, from things at 22, it's kind of dire for a second, for a little bit, and just how far, you've grown with the Lord at that point, because you were like 29 then.
Yeah.
When Gavin was like, what, you said 5 or 6? Yeah. At that time, and just how far, like, God had taken you just by trusting in him and believing that you were worth something.
A short 6 years. Like, in the time, I remember thinking, well, at first it felt forever, but once I just started just seeking him, it just kind of went by.
Yeah.
And at that time, I don't know if you remember, there was, and you might not, but there was a song, John Waller, I think that's his name.
Waiting. I do remember that because that ministered to me so much too.
Yeah, because at the time, of course, I was still just like, I do still want a husband.
I used to love it. I used to play it on repeat.
Like, I was probably waiting for the wrong thing, but at the same time, like, it was just kind of like, while you're waiting. And so that kind of kept me like, I'm going to seek you while I'm waiting. I'm going to serve you while I'm waiting. Or whatever. Yeah,
because those are some of the lyrics, guys, from that song.
Yes.
I think for me, it was like part of the soundtrack for that movie Courageous.
Yes.
That Christian, which I watch all the Christian movies. Some are great, some are a little corny, but they're all great because they all have truth in them. Yeah. So that's all I watch them for. Love that movie too. And I think, so what year did you move to Honduras? What year was it actually?
So we actually moved in 2012.
Yeah. So like that time of my life was, for me, on the flip side, like I was in my early 20s then, and like that was a big time for me too. And so I think it's interesting how that song, like that is so wild. Like was speaking the same truth to us, but for different reasons. I think for me, I was kind of in between a relationship at that time, but also just questioning, like, what does God have for me in my life? And like, because what I went to school for and what I was in the middle pursuing were two separate things. Because at that time I had just finished my bachelor's for public relations. But that was not what I was pursuing. Like at that time in my life, I was pursuing like camp ministry and for myself. So like, that's wild. That's awesome.
Yeah. And at that time, again, like, if you remember in 2010, you know, that's when my dad passed away on my first trip. So I felt called to move in 2010, but we didn't move till 2012. There was a time of waiting when, again, it's like, you know, what's going to happen.
But when's it going to happen?
But how is God going to work out? How is it all going to align? So I think for that too, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm waiting. Which we did. Like, I did a lot of, when they started, it's called the New Life Project. There's a lot of back, like, they had sponsorships and all this kind of stuff. Here that had to get started. So I helped a lot with that. Just kind of like getting them kind of set up on this side, since she and her husband lived over there. You know, so God still used that time, but it was still just like, watching God provide and how he was going to move at that time.
That's awesome. So, and Gavin came with you when you moved over there, right?
Yes.
Officially. And at that point, how was your Spanish?
You know, I mean, I took it in high school. It was my minor in college. It, like I said, it'd been my passion since, you know, freshman year of high school. But it was a lot of, I mean. So that Rosetta Stone came into play a little bit? It did come into play. It wasn't as fast as I needed it to be when you're in the middle of it, but that's kind of how you pick it up. Gavin knew zero Spanish.
Oh, poor baby.
Poor little 6-year-olds. Like, I want to play with these kids and I cannot communicate with them. So they use a lot of like sign language. They use a lot of just kind of like played side by side without words.
Does he know it now?
Oh yeah, he's fluent. Like that's awesome. Yeah, his freshman year, he was able to like take tests and
I think that's
pass all 4 years.
I think that's such a gift. I think being bilingual is like amazing thing. Like it's great. It's a great thing. That's awesome.
It can be a good gift.
So was there anything, I know we talked about books, we talked about the journaling that you had, but like, was there anything like from scripture that was like really powered you through?
Yeah. So I think during my pregnancy days, my struggles with just being a single mom, God really used Isaiah 43:2. He talks about, when you pass through the waters, I'll be with you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched or you will not burn. I think those hit me because it was like, no matter what, I'm with you. And I think, you know, that's so important because I think being alone can be such a hopeless feeling. And so again, I think one of the enemy's tools is to isolate us and get us alone. So when you feel alone, I think when he gives me this and he's telling me like, you're going to go through stuff, but I am with you. Kind of just provides that strength and comfort. Like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. If I don't see you, I know you're there. And then the other one really came after my dad passed away in April, but before I went to Honduras in June. I remember being prayed over by one of the groups, me, Miss Evelyn, and this lady prayed this verse over me. She asked what I could pray for. I said, you know, my dad just passed away. I'm going over here to serve. I'm in this really weird, low but high place. Like, I can't explain it. And she prayed this verse over me in Psalms 126, 5 and 6. Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. He who goes out weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy.
Wow.
And that right there, like, gave me purpose. Like, you don't have to go out joyful and happy. You don't have to go serve him with, like, this huge smile on your face. Like, I know that's probably what everybody wants you to do. But you can still go in pain. And you can still serve with sadness. And with where you are. But he's going to restore in you joy. And he's going to restore in you peace.
It's beautiful.
Hope. And that's exactly how I can explain what happened.
Yeah.
Like, that verse
Yeah.
explained it all. I was going in pain and sadness, and I was going with this heart of grief and depression, honestly. And for me and Gavin. And, like, you can't serve God and come back the same.
Yeah.
Just, you can't. And seeing where other people were there who had nothing, but were laughing and smiling and playing, and it was just beautiful. And it was that reminder of, like, it's not all about what you have, whether it's a person or a thing, or it's about your heart and where your heart is.
Yeah. Man, it's good stuff. You know, but somehow you got, like, how long did you and Gavin stay over there? Because, you know, you're here in the States with me now, and I think you've been here for a little bit. So how long did you live there, and how long, you know, how did that come about?
So we moved there in 2012, and we moved back in 2015. So about 3 years. Yeah. 2.5, 3 years. When you look at, you know, months and days and all that. But 2.5, 3 years we lived there in our little village. Yeah. De Pane. Neighbors with Jennifer and her husband. And kids. So that's where we were there. And did you do the child care center over there? Yeah, well, that's a funny story. See, that's how God gets you in these places. I'm telling you, it's all due love. But again, that's what drew me. You know, in the village in Honduras, childcare is not really a need. Wow. Mainly because you have a culture that believes in keeping your children with you all the time. Like, they're with you. So when they go pick coffee, or when they go to the fields to tend to their crops, like, they just carry their babies. I mean, they leave them at home with their older siblings. Trust is a big factor. So especially this very Americanized white girl. Like, why would I leave my baby with you? I wouldn't. And so that wasn't really exactly how that planned, but it did. I did have a class. It was like more of like a kindergarten class. Yeah. So it was more of like 5 and 6 year olds. Okay. So I had about 12 of them, which was, at first we started off just coming to my house 3 days a week. They'd come, and so we had things at my house. We even brushed teeth, like early Head Start. Yeah. Like, they had their own little toothbrush in my house, and every day they come and brush teeth. And so it wasn't just about like teaching them letters and all that. It was really just about life and life skills. Yeah. Awesome. So what brought you back? Like, why'd you come back to the good old USA? Yes. You need some AC? It was very hard. Some health issues came up with my mom that kind of brought me back. As well as while I was here, I did meet my now husband. Oh. He was living here. I was living there. He was from Honduras. So wow. We actually moved at the same time. So, like, he moved to the States the same year. Star-crossed lovers. Yes, literally. That's wild. Yeah, it's really wild how God works things. Someone should write a book about your life. So we met. This is turning into like a novel. Yeah, it really could be. Maybe I should do that. I should just write, since I have this journaling experience now. We actually met at First West. So oh, wow. I'm telling you, he was attending the Spanish service there. And that is a whole nother how we met with such a God thing. You had to come back on for part 2. Yes, because that was such a God thing. Weird. Yeah. But so we met, started dating, a couple years later, got married. Wow. So, like, you came back because of your mom, but in between that, you got a husband. Yes, got a husband. And 2 extra children. Wow. Yeah. How old are they now? So I have Leon is fixing to be 5 in August. Wow. Baby, like his big brother. And then Eliana just turned 3. Wow. Yeah. Wild time. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man. So do you think you guys will go back to Honduras at some point?
Yes. I do think we'll go back to Honduras. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't think it'll necessarily be a ministry focus.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's the reason.
Yeah.
You know, with Nolan's family. Sorry, that's my husband saying Nolan. His family's from there. They live there. So I imagine us moving near them. I definitely see, I'm a big believer in God using your gifts and talents.
Oh, yeah.
So I do definitely believe that eventually I will be serving children somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know how, when, where, what, but I know that that's just how very consistent.
Yeah.
And so I do believe. I do believe that's in our future. Yeah.
So what are your favorite parts of, like, you know, the country over there and like just our culture and all the things?
So I love the pace of Honduras. People will laugh at this because they know me, but I'm a very kind of go with the flow. I'm not, I don't know how to explain this because my personality is like split. I'm very just like not flexible. Like I'm very controlled. Like I like things planned. I like things organized. That. But timing wise, I kind of believe in like, you just kind of go with the flow. Like I'm going to finish what I'm doing right here and then move to the next thing. And if that does not come at the same time that's supposed to,
that's okay. But I did it really organized.
That's right. So the culture there is, it's just after my heart. It's nobody has watches. Nobody's keeping time.
Drive me nuts.
It's kind of, I know. So it's very just like, it's something too, but you know, you kind of look and see has anybody started coming. And then when people start coming, then you go. So it's not like I'm looking at my clock like, okay, I got to be there. It's more just like, just the flow of the people, the flow of the day. So there's really just no set times in our little village. And I'm sure like in the city, there's times and you have to be there, but not in the village life. So it's just my heart. It's just relaxing. There's no stress. There's no like, I mean, I'm sure there's stress.
Yeah, but it's different.
It's a different kind of stress.
Yeah.
People grow their own things. They do their own things. Like, it's just at a relaxed pace. Whereas here, it's like everything. You have due dates, you have timelines, you have, you know, you got to go here, you got to go here. I got to be off work. I got to pick up the kids at this time. We have to have something by this time.
Just go.
Go. And there it's no. Like,
Did you learn how to grow anything in your 3 years over there?
No, I did not.
Oh.
Not one single thing. Not one. I did have a couple animals show up at my house because we fed them. So I grew love. I grew love with the kids. I had a house full of kids at my house all the time, every day, all day.
So you did have a childcare center.
I did.
Just different.
It was a good way to look at that. It was just different. You know, I had a group of Gavin's friends that he made, and I call them just my boys. Like, I mean, they had their own parents, but they were at our house like all the time. We had pizza nights, we had movie nights. They were just my heart and soul.
Yeah.
But it was at my house. I mean, you get to walk the mountains. You know, like I miss the beautiful mountains and the clouds that you could literally drive through and touch. We were so high.
Wow.
Like it just...
That's actually a little terrifying for me, but... but yeah, that does sound cool at the same time. Yeah. So, you know, how old is Gavin now? Like that was when he was a itty bitty person and now he's... How old is he now?
He is 18. He's actually, this August will be 19.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. He's like a grown little man.
He's an official adult is what my friend that today is. He's an adult child now.
Isn't he an adult child? I mean, the emphasis on the child part, I don't think anyone is really an adult until like 25, at least in American standards.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Our culture kind of like keeps people as children in a way. They're like, they're physically an adult, but they're like not an adult. No. And I think that has more to do with our culture than it does anything else. But he's almost there to be on his own.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. just a nervous wreck. I'm not nervous. I'm just like, oh, it's another trusting God thing.
Yeah.
I know it's just that other chapter of trusting God. Like, okay, here we go. Now you trust God with your child that you've raised, that you've loved, that you've cared for, that you've done everything for. And now it's like,
okay. Yeah.
Next time. Jennifer in Honduras, we both have kids the same age. So
oh, wow.
She has an 18-year-old daughter. I have an 18-year-old Gavin. Like, they grew up best friends. And she's like, can you believe we have adult children? I was like, no, don't say this. Like, and then I was like, yeah, but mine's moving out of my house, like in the 2 months. Like, he's moving out to Granite down the road in Ruston, but that's a big
change. Yeah. Change. Yeah.
And so,
yeah. And isn't he off doing like some ministry work this summer?
He is. Gavin has felt led for a couple of years now to do camp ministry.
Camp.
So, yeah. And so he actually applied this spring with Pine Cove City. Well, Pine Cove, he thought, but Pine Cove City. So he has been traveling the last month to different cities, setting up camp at different churches.
That's pretty awesome.
Homes.
Yeah.
And just sharing the love of God.
Wow.
Yep.
Such a beautiful story, just like from his infancy to now of, almost a grown man, and just how like the Lord has like spoken to both of y'all's lives ever since,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think for me, it truly, and not even that journal, that beautiful leather journal, I actually gave it to Gavin this year for Valentine's.
Oh, you did?
I did, because he is stepping into the things that I prayed for him and prayed over. Like, I literally was like, he is yours. Like, I want you to use him. I want him to be a man of God. I want him. And so I wanted Gavin to see, like, not only my love for him, but like he's walking into God's love and God's plan for him.
Yeah.
And so, and this started as small as you're a baby in my womb. Like, he knew you, it was forming you and shaping you to be who you are right now.
Yeah. It's huge. That's awesome. I hope he really treasures it the way he should.
I do too. I kind of want to take it back. Okay, maybe I should wait till like he's 30 or 40. Like, give it to his kids, because I'm nervous about.
Like, don't lose that in your suitcase or something.
Give it to his wife one day. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that is a great thing. A good testimony. And even almost like a prophecy. Like, hey, here's fulfilled prophecies in a way, or like here's the goodness of God and what He's been to us from the start. That's awesome. Okay, so last question. We've been talking for a minute. It's been such a great conversation, such a great story. But what would you tell someone if they were going through their difficult time?
I think the biggest thing is to seek Him, meaning God, cling to Him, look for Him in everything. I can't say that enough, because I think when you seek Him, His word tells you will find Him, and He is there and He's waiting for us. And so seeking Him to me would be, don't let that turn you to the opposite direction and run from Him.
Yeah.
Because I think I've done both. Run from Him during those hard times. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I've sought Him with all my heart during those hard times. And I've truly seen, like, just Gavin's example of God's grace and His gift through that time when I was seeking Him. And I think just, you're never too far gone or too far away from God for Him to rescue you. Oh, yeah. To save you, to bring you back to a place. You're never too far away to be used by God. Yeah. And that's what I thought for so many years. Like, I'm unusable now. Yeah. God has given me this opportunity to share our testimony. Yeah. And I never thought, even 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, God, I'm in a place where I'm unusable again. And God just keeps reminding me, like, you are never in a place to be unusable. Yeah. Your moments of weakness, your moments of failure, your moments of the pit is what I'm about to use. Yeah. Because you're not alone. It's not for you. It's for other people. It's for other people. Yeah. And so just seek Him. Yeah. He'll do the rest.
Such a good word. Such a good word. And your story is just so inspiring. You know, I'm just so thankful that you came out to share today, Misty. And I know somebody needed to hear this today. And I know this is going to mean so much to somebody out there.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's super important.
Sure.
I think sometimes in our culture, we want to protect our children at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love my kid. I love Gavin. Like, he's not my favorite, though he'll tell you.
Yeah.
Just thinks, I'm your favorite child. I'm like, you're not. I just had you longer.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I would not want to protect him.
Right.
But what I've learned is so often in our culture, we want to prevent our children from experiencing hard things.
Right.
We want to keep them from falling. We want to keep them from, and I'm not saying those things are not bad.
Right.
But if you look in the Bible, it's not biblical. Like, God did not prevent his children from falling.
Right.
God did not prevent his children from experiencing pain, failures, disappointments. And neither should we. Like, that's where we grow and we learn. I can remember when we were going to move to Honduras, and I remember somebody came to me and was like, oh my gosh, like, you're taking your child to a third world country? And I was like, why wouldn't I? Like, what's different about that country? He's like, yeah, but, you know, like, y'all might not have water or electricity and to be honest, there were times that we didn't. We had cold showers for like the first 6 months of us living there. We didn't have hot water. There's no hot water over there. Like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
But guess what? Like, why would I prevent Gavin from experiencing that? Like, he remembers those moments.
Yeah.
I mean, but those shape him. Those help him, prepare him to be who he is today. It has helped him to learn not to judge others.
Oh, yeah.
Others. Like, now he used to play with these people who weren't like him, that didn't look like him, didn't talk like him, didn't act like him. But he's led several of them to Christ.
Yeah.
And so why would I prevent him from having these experiences that God is going to use?
Yeah.
And it tells you, like, what the enemy means for evil, God means it for good. It's not God's going to turn it out for good. It's he meant it for good. Like, God means it for good. They have the same, I mean something, but God's is always going to trump it. Yeah. And you can trust your kids with that in this culture, in any culture. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But I don't think we have to protect, and even ourselves. Like, sometimes we don't want to put ourselves in a situation. Yeah. With our kids, it's like, I don't even want to go there. I don't want to do this. Like, but I just encourage people just to trust him. If you feel that sense that you need to do something, just follow it. Yeah. Because God is on the other end of it.
Such a good word, Misty.
And you don't know what blessing that's going to be for somebody else who needs it to come to Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Listen to her, gosh. I mean, she's living proof. She's done it. You know, she's doing it. Just thank you. And such a blessing. And like I said earlier, like, I'm just so glad I've gotten to meeting you now in this stage of your life, and just, you know, working with you and getting to know you. And it's been such a blessing for me already. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Misty, and this is my story of the middle.
I'm your host, Brandy Bostic, and you've been listening to the Up From the Muck podcast. If you're interested in getting a little extra perks or learning more about the guest I interview, check out my Patreon account in the show notes.
Psalms 40, verse 2, he brought me up from a desolate pit, out of the muddy clay, and set my feet on a rock, making my steps secure.